from their encounters with races from other planets. The information is the activation. Let's awaken this world together. We are the forever students, and we will not be silent. We are the ones that we've been waiting for. It's pretty wild. Welcome everybody to Full Spectrum Universe. My name is Rob Yox. We have another amazing broadcast for you. We are the Embattled Broadcast. We are no longer behind enemy lines. We are in this great state of New York because we are actively making it a better place. So welcome. Tonight is going to be an epic 3-part series talking about the astral realm and Dreamtime. Why is this important, right? We're going to get into that in my opening salvo. But before we do, please share this video out. As many lives as we touch, as many people as we get to see some of the greater truths that are out there in this universe for them, brings more awakening, brings a stronger base for us to stand upon and change this world for the better as we try and do each and every broadcast. So, we have a lot of things coming up. This week, we're going to be announcing the energetics course, the dates, the places where you can purchase your tickets to be a part of one of the most in-depth energetic sessions. That is probably going to be about 5 or 6 different classes. You're going to be able to purchase either each one that you want or the whole package. It is going to be absolutely essential. There are graphs, PDFs, things for you to take home, and also practices to be taught later on down the line. So one of the things we wanted to do tonight was kind of give an intro into what some of that's going to be. In the astral realm and, of course, Dreamtime are a major step in understanding what lies beyond that barrier or what lies beyond that veil, and being able to maneuver and map out, which we're going to do tonight, is map out the astral realm for you a little bit. You'll have a better understanding of what to expect and what to see. Now, part one is going to be mapping out the astral plane itself, right? What we look for, what exactly each layer is to the astral plane, just like our physical earth plane. The astral plane has many, many levels, right? Then the second aspect of it is going to be Dreamtime, and what the ancient aboriginals talk about as Dreamtime, not the dreaming. The dreaming is their beginnings of their inception, but the dreaming did happen within Dreamtime. A lot of ancient Native American cultures talk about spirit walks or communion with spirit. This is what they talk about. They talk about intense meditations in which they transcend specific veils and get information from the other side. The other side being the astral plane. There are different planes of existence above the physical plane. There is the physical plane, the etherical plane, and then the astral plane, right? And then there's even more. It goes up from there. We're not going to get into them, but there's a lot of them. So share this content out. Please leave a comment when this is over. You have no idea what that does to help the algorithmic bugs. And as you can see underneath my name tonight, we have the hashtag Full Spectrum Universe. That is our hashtag all the time. Whenever you're referring to this show, please use the hashtag Full Spectrum Universe. It helps to get this out to more and more people. So we're going to start with my opening salvo. Usually I go into the presentation for the opening salvo, but I'm not going to tonight. Tonight I'm going to talk to you, the people. And the people, my community, I love you all so much. And it's so incredible what we've discovered and what we've kind of mulled through information wise as a whole. But I'm telling you now that there is a lot of information where I understand that we are hovering over the target. Now, what I mean by hovering over the target is we're not getting into specifics because we're going to be start doing some off YouTube shows or streams of sorts, whether it be just audio or it be video as well, to talk in depth about current events that we can't talk about here because of censorship. But how do I know that I'm over the target? Well, as of the last few months, there have been efforts by those who are corrupting this world to essentially have me be a part of their collective crew. That's how I know that I'm somewhere over the target. Their interest in what we're doing here implies to me that we are doing something right in the opposition of what they want or what they intend to do. So that is not a pat in the back. That is not a glory run. That is not a lap. That is basically saying that we are all susceptible to being caught up into this karmatic roll up in which these people or entities that reside within these physical people to be caught in these traps that they set for us, right? And what they try and do is they try and befriend you first. And then when they try and tell you, one person did this and I entertained the conversation for just a millisecond to see exactly who this person was. I knew it and I felt it in my bones and I wanted to see what they would say. Therefore, I could give that to other people and say, look, this is what they try and do. And by God, I tell you, it went right where I thought it was going to go. And I'm not being specific on purpose. And this is very just over, over time too. And these people, they play to your strengths, but they also play to your weakness. So it is a multifaceted approach to try and get you to capitulate to what they want. Now, we do a touch of capitulation here on YouTube with censorship. That is, I don't want to say giving into what they do, right? But it is also having one foot in and one foot out. We reach more people on YouTube, so that's what we do. We reach the people we can where we can. But at the same time, we have most of our body out and we dip our toe in once in a while to try and spread the word of what we're doing. Therefore, we're not capitulating to them 100%, which is also why we're going to create centers of uncensored conversation. I think it's absolutely pivotal right now. With all that we've gone over, there is a lot of things that I cannot say because if I did get to them, I would be labeled many things. And if I was labeled those things, then they would come for me, as in my page. We're not going to let that happen. Also, again, I know I'm over the target because this has happened multiple times where they've tried to contact me and to befriend me in a way that doesn't so much proposition something, but they're leading to it. And I find it funny to see them squirm when I tell them directly that I am in direct opposition to whatever you are saying in any instance, in any case. And it ruffles their feathers in a way that I can't even describe. They don't get mad, they try and up the ante. And then it's like there's no amount of anything that's going to make me capitulate who I am. So that's sort of my opening salvo. So keep an eye out for these people. They are in the last vestiges of their time, right? Not as in, unaliving things like that, but I'm saying that they're in the last vestiges of their control factor upon who we are and what we are. So what we're talking about is we're talking about the awareness that they're trying to maneuver within the shadows. So now when we shine a light on them, they'll scatter like cockroaches. So that's why I try and tell you some of the instances that I've been through. So if it happens to you, you can be hip to the game and be aware of it already, right? And a lot of what led me to understanding the information that we've been talking about over the last episodes was my journeying through the astral plane. So, the astral plane can be a place where we create discernment for ourselves by playing out instances in which a situation will play out. Whenever people have high anxiety, one of the things that they do is they relive these instances or every possible outcome within mere minutes in their mind. This astral plane is a place to check with those who have come before us and the entities that reside there to essentially bounce these ideas off of them, right? And once you get to mastering how to maneuver, navigate, and basically utilize the astral plane, your entire life will change. I promise you that. So, one thing we're going to do, like I said, is we're going to map out the astral plane. Then we're going to talk about Dreamtime and the similarities thereof, right? Then we're going to talk about what resides in the astral plane. And that's each individual episode is going to be dedicated to each spot. So tonight we're going to be mapping out the astral plane. We're going to be telling you how most people, now not everybody, and this is the other thing we have to keep in consideration too, when interacting with the astral plane, there are multiple, if not infinite, possibilities of how it all comes about or what you see while you're there. So, what I've done is I've kind of used my own interpretation of what you see, as well as went out and looked at other accounts of what the astral plane is. And essentially, we kind of, you know, bottled them together to give you a unique perspective of the potentials of the astral plane. So, that is kind of my opening salvo. It's just talking about what we know, but guys, we're over the target. We have to maintain this steady pace with going into advanced materials while also getting into materials that are not so advanced to bring those people in who are just on that approach of waking up, right? So let's dive in. Like I said, like, subscribe, smash that share button, please. Create a post if you've got 1,000 followers or if you can do it on the community side. Also, please leave a comment when this is finished. Let's get into the madness. So this presentation is going to start and end with the astral realm, right? Or the astral plane. Then we're going to get into Dreamtime. This is the beginning of it. It's all one presentation. I'm going to break into 3 different episodes. So first, we're going to talk about, like I said, the astral realm itself. So the astral planes are, in my opinion, again, my opinion, an energetically generated reflection of universal conscissness. They have a definite form, they have definite order, and they have definite structure, and they're one of the true wonders of our incredible multidimensional universe. The structure of the astral plane can be clearly observed and even used for navigational purposes if we approach from the correct angles of perception, all right, or at a angle of perception at which the projector, who is you and me, we are the projectors, perceive the astral planes through the direct mind senses of his or her projectable double. Basically, what am I talking about? I'm talking about when you are residing and you send your consciousness to the astral plane, your consciousness creates a different avatar, which is more of an etherical avatar to maneuver and mold and manipulate the astral plane, whether it be for straight logistics, or if you're inquiring about something, or if you're trying to remote view. We also sometimes visit the astral plane or the lower aspects of the astral plane when we're dreaming, lucid dreaming, or vivid like dreams, right? So these perception angles vary from projector to projector, right? And there's 2 types of ways that we enter during meditation into the astral plane. And we're going to describe those to you. There is the tube type and the plane type, which are angles of perception. So being by far the most common is the angle or the plane type, right? So this is the projection and perception that is set by the projector's energetic makeup and activity during a projection. And it is also affected by their belief systems, right? Our conscious mind has effects on our subconscious and consciousness levels when projecting into the astral plane. Also, if there is any questions as we're going through this, please put them in the chat in all caps so I can get to it at some point or another. We're going to kind of jump a little bit back and forth, so just stay with us. Let's get through this. I've got about 10 pages to go through tonight, about 14 slides. And then tomorrow, I think it's probably either tomorrow or Sunday. And then we're going to do the next episode directly after that so it stays fresh. right? So traditional esoteric theory tells us that the astral dimension contains seven major levels or planes, each housing a plethora of lesser subplanes and internal realms and kingdoms. The many different descriptions from this structure is the Hindi, the Buddhist, and also spiritualist and New Age types of inferences of the astral plane. Even the multi-dimensional theory of modern physics often appear to conflict, but mainly because of the cultural and religious beliefs. But they also have a interpretation of the astral plane. So exploring and mapping the astral plane is like trying to explore an entire planet on foot without maps or instruments. It cannot be done during any single projection. It would have to be done over a great length of time by highly skilled projectors with good shadow recall memory and excellent organization and recording skills. So while a little bit of this is me talking about my time within the astral plane, right? We have to understand that there is just, it's so vast. It's like our universe now. It is so vast in ways that I can't even describe it. It's bigger than our multiverse. It's everything and anything that we can potentially think of, right? So the possibilities are endless. So as we keep going here, we talked about traditional esoterics. Of course, I forget to do the slides because I get into rant mode. But Denise is asking a question. She says, is astral traveling why I get so much deja vu? We're going to go over that in a little while, Denise. Yes, there is a reason why astral travel gives you deja vu. And it goes back to what I was talking about in the very beginning, where I said we play out a lot of our sort of scenarios of how something will happen within the astral plane. And when we come back, we especially while we're dreaming. So when we come back to reality and one of those instances plays out, we tend to see it as deja vu when really it was us manifesting that specific outcome. Now, there is deja vu as well. So it goes kind of both ways, but let us keep going. So now we're going to talk about what the astral plane appears as, right? So the astral planes are complex, multi layered, energetically generated dimensional environments with variable perception based aspects. The way that the astral plane and its contents are perceived, experienced, and remembered can be extremely variable, depending greatly on the projector's level of energetic activity at the time of projection and on the state of their beliefs. Also, their level of consciousness at the time of projection and also the state of their base level of consciousness. Now, what does that mean? That means that sometimes we are more focused inward than other times. And if we try and use our astral plane or astral projection to get into that astral realm, it can have an effect on the different variables that we encounter while in the astral realm. If our energetics are somewhat low that day, we have different days where we go through different cycles and patterns of high energetics, low energetics, belief systems, exterior stimuli, interior stimuli. There's a lot of different variable factors that, so to have that really great connection, I would suggest first that we go through the 0 point focus, which we're going to go over in the last episode of this series, is specific techniques to manipulate and to advance into the astral plane 80% of the time. There's nothing that's 100% viable, right? But I'm going to give you the best tools to maneuver yourself into the astral realm at will, at any time, any place, anywhere. We're going to do it. This was going to be a part of the energetics course because of the magnitude at which getting into the astral realm truly means. But this is something we have to give away for free because this is a pivotal moment and point in time and history where this is going to be looked back on and we're going to say this is the moment that I was able to get to that higher sense of consciousness through astral realm travel and interacting with the entities that live on the opposite side of that veil, right? So we have to make sure that we give this away freely, and that's it. So the classes that we're going to be having, I'm going to use it's going to be held right here in StreamYard. We're going to use the webinar feature in StreamYard, but we're going to be I'm going to have a discount for some of the people who are members of the channel, but there's going to be tickets that you purchase, and then what's going to happen is you're going to get a link via email because it's going to be through I forget the name of what we use for all the other events that were paid events. Uh, I'll put it up in all the videos too, so you'll be able to get right there. But you'll be able to buy a ticket from purchasing that ticket through the system. It's going to give you that link to be here for those days. Also, what we're going to do is we're going to record it for the people who can't make it. We're going to be putting it on specific other platforms for when people purchase tickets. They'll also get the link for the recording as well from a different place. They'll also have private. We can also do private YouTube specific like streams where people can access it as well. So, but let's get back to business here. So, we're going to talk about the sub levels in a minute. I'm just going forward so I can keep going. So all this affects on how the physical brain works and how much what is perceived during a projection the brain is capable of storing as recognizable memory while you're in the astral realm. Whenever we try and recant our memories, there is a percentage that kind of fades away or becomes hyperized in our mind's eye, and it's hard to recall some of that. So, recognizable memory is a portion of understanding what has happened in the astral plane, right? So, after all, the one thing left for a projection is the memory of it, which is of course, perceived, interpreted, and recalled by the base level of consciousness only. So, in the astral dimension, the energetic qualities of travelers, projected doubles, strongly affect their specific angles in which they perceive the astral realm, more so even than their state or level of consciousness at the time. Now, I truly believe that not only during the experience, but also afterward, it affects the memory and how it will be stored in the physical brain at the base level of consciousness. And thus, obviously, an experience memory will be recalled after you're already out of the astral plane. So each astral plane appears two dimensional when its surface is approached. However, a fully three-dimensional environment is experienced when this is penetrated. Essentially, when we talk about penetrating that two-dimensional spectrum is when we find our way in, right? So when we look at it from the outside, it looks two-dimensional. But once we penetrate that outer wall, whether it's either a tube or a gate, and we're going to talk about what we mean by that, it becomes three-dimensional, right? And this is happens for the majority of people. Now, there are instances where you're instantly transmitted into the astral three-dimensional plane as well. So it's not off base to say that, you can just be kind of thrown into the fire very quickly without going through the two types of entering sequences, I guess is the best way to say it. So each astral plane also contains connections with every other primary astral plane. These connections appear in colors and patterns on the surface skin of when you're looking at the entryway into the astral plane. For example, the violet purple dot in the middle of each of these centerpieces that we see, I'm going to put it into the description so you can see it later on, will essentially move, but it's gonna essentially show you that it's all about perception, and your perception on the exterior as opposed to the interior will change dramatically, and that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit closer. But the surface of the astral plane is a magnificent, awe-inspiring to essentially be held. These structures are absolutely beyond compare in their artistic and crisp, colorful beauty, and their enormity and grandeur, and their spectacular, awe-inspiring power and deep mystery. So when we're looking at these specific, when we're, it's a little bit difficult to describe right now. I know I'm kind of mumbling over myself, but when we get to where the essence is, which is the top of what you're seeing here, that flat two-dimensional surface, we get into once we get past that, we get to the subplanes and or the internal subplanes, sorry. And then from those subplanes, we'll be able to go even deeper. It keeps going and keeps going. So what we're talking about right now is this surface top area. And you see that there are squares there. Now, in those squares, there will be colors and hieroglyphs, which will point you in a direction in which you will know what those hieroglyphs mean, and those specific types of, you know, um, whether they be pictures or lettering, and it will bring you to specific points in your astral plane. So it's sort of a grid that you'll be able to access other points within the plane as you're maneuvering through it, right? So there's a lot to go through when we talk about that, but you know, this is logically and intelligently designed, and it's very geometrical, as we can see. And it's not accidental, right? It's natural. And this appears to be a design that's far beyond our creation or our making, which means that some other, whether it's God or entities that are higher density than we are the creators of the astral plane. So let's talk about a little bit of the astral subplanes. So journeys within the astral plane have shown that each primary astral plane has a complex internal structure. And this is a tangled spectrum of interconnected levels or subplanes, right? Or internal realms, both positive and negative. This is why we have to discuss this as well. Now, depending on the projector, who is you and I, you will never reach the negative unless you go in looking for it. Let me say that again. For myself and everybody listening, you will never reach a negative space within the astral plane or the astral realm unless you go looking for it. That is one of the biggest things like you could take away from this entire video. So, modern physics says that that energy cannot be destroyed but only changed. We say this all the time. So I believe that this also applies in all other dimensions. So reflected energies of consciousness radiated into the astral planes from the physical dimension. They have many forms, both positive and negative, each with many subtle variations. The reflected energy contained within this astral plane originates from raw primal consciousness energy and conditioned by the minds from which they have emanated from. This is when you're interacting with others in the astral plane. You can even interact with other versions of yourself from other dimensions because the astral plane is connected to all of them. That's a wild ride. That's where I get a little bit of my understanding. Your higher consciousness can push you in a direction to meet one of your other extensions of your fragmented consciousness in a different reality. So, the subplanes and the lesser realms with each astral plane are parts of an extremely complex energetic filtration system. I can think of no other way to describe this mind boggling complexity of what this process is. So let's get to the next slide, which is the energetic filtration system. This is important. This is why you don't encounter negative entities unless you go looking for them. So, the internal energetic structure channel negative and positive energies or energetic reflections of consciousness into different dimensional areas. This appears to be accomplished by natural forces acting as an energetic attraction and repulsion mechanisms. So, positive and negative energies radiate away from each other, then congeal in energetic related holding areas, so that the positive and negative energies generated by consciousness are separated and channeled towards the dimensional levels with which most are precisely in tune with, which means if you go in with a negative aspect, you will end up in a negative space because you are tuned to that negativity going in. As for the opposite, if you go in with positive ambition and mindset, you will be projected to the tuning of that positive energy. Therefore, you will end up in a positive area of the astral plane. Makes sense, right? It's the polarity. There's polarity in everything. We know this, so it would be there as well. The universe, the multi-dimensional multiverse, radiates polarity. So the astral energetic filtering process is most noticeable in the lower internal subplanes. It's not apparent at all on the surface structures, nor can it be easily perceived within the higher astral planes. So the higher astral levels seem to attract and filter only refined high level energies. These flow freely into the form of coarse or from coarse lower dimensional areas that are not capable of handling high level energies. So once filtered, these energies appear to take root and energetically contribute to the environment in the dimensional layer, in the area, in the realm, or the kingdom. We're going to go over what a kingdom is in a little while, right? Or the realm itself, with which they are most in tuned with. Positive and negative areas coexist within all subplanes and realms, holding each other dimensionally apart through natural energetic repulsion mechanics. Let me know if this is making sense. If this is what you see as well. I'm fascinated to find out. So, there is so many layers to these astral planes that it's hard to know. It's hard to get back to the same places. We're going to go over some techniques to do that too in the third episode of this little mini series here, right? So, the energetic filtering effect can often be perceived during a projection as a subtle gradient of light or as a gradual brightening or darkening or as a heaviness or lightness, right? Gradients of light and atmosphere exist between connected groups of related opposites. So we know that. I think we missed a few of these. Nope, nope, we're still good. Okay. So in practice, if you maintain I'm sorry, I missed a part there. So there appears to be no hard division between positive and negative areas, but you'll never interact with each other. In practice, if you maintain a single directional heading for any length of time, you will perceive the astral landscape as slowly changing from better or worse, right? If you're headed in a direction, which in turn, if you start to see it getting worse, you can change your thought process and bring yourself back. So sometimes we go into these things with the best of intentions, but our ego gets the best of us sometimes, even when in meditation. So if we start to see ourselves going towards that bad side, we can pull ourselves back with a couple simple thought exercises very quickly. So your will can override the natural energetic filtering mechanism, allowing you to go wherever you choose. Astral projectors will always naturally project to the astral level that they are in tune with energetically, but they can move on from there into positive and negative areas with which each will be naturally tuned with when the time arises. So in the astral plane, each connecting energetic gradient has many directions, not all of them obvious to the naked eye. Emotional, spiritual, and psychic directions can be taken intuitively, but they must be innate to the projector, right? They are not always visible or visibly represented in the internal parts of the astral plane. The majority of visible astral plane directions have reasonably positive outcomes. If a positive direction is taken and held, a projector will generally move into a progressively brighter and lighter area, into the higher level areas. The reverse usually will not happen by accident, although it can only be brought out by a deliberate act of exploration. There are some people who go to the bad side just to see it. You'll never be stuck there. You can always get out of it. It's all up to the projector, right? So again, if the traveler remains focused on what they're doing and have positive oriented minds, they will have very little to worry about in this respect. In practice, travelers wandering the astral plane at random will find themselves experiencing a great many varied and interesting environments. They will not come across any seriously negative areas in their travels unless they actively go looking for them. The underlying intentions and qualities of thought of astral travel's safeguards, underlying thoughts safeguard them from accidentally entering any negative areas they are in tune with energetically. So, next, we're going to be going into I'm sorry, I'm a little hoarse tonight, but that's okay. We're going to keep going. The lower astral planes. We may actually be doing 4 episodes on this because it seems like I'm not going to be getting through a lot of this while coming back because I want to make sure we go through it thoroughly. But we also are going to be doing a subsection like this of for the Akashic record through the astral realm, which is going to be a different series because it's going to take time and showing through meditation, accessing the astral realm to get to the Akashic record, where all of your answers will be answered every given time, right? The Akashic records, they are in the astral plane, but they're also not, right? They are, but they're not. They're like an exterior pocket, which you access through the astral plane, but they are not actually a part of it, right? They can be, though. Like, it depends on what you see as your Akashic records. Some people will say that they are because the tunnel connecting the two or the hallway connecting the two is literally one and the same. But some people do not. It's literal. It is. It's like its own bubble, the Akashic records. To access it, and once you're into the Akashic records, there are different rules that apply. The Akashic record has its own sentience. Its arbiters can knock you back out of it for not being appropriate while in, which happens to the negative people who go into the Akashic records. They get to a certain point where the guardians of those records decide that they're no longer fit to be there and they will cast them out. While they'll be able to come right back in, they're given basically a warning. I mean, they would have to do some serious types of like higher dimensional beings would have to shut you out completely of the Akashic record, right? I saw Legion. I don't remember much of the Akashic records being in that show. I fell asleep during a lot of those episodes, but so let's get into the lower astral subplanes. So the lower astral subplanes, traditionally the ones to be avoided, appear to be the areas where negative emotion, thought, and fantasy generated energies have been collecting for a very long time. These areas are home to negative manifestations of the darker side of the humankind and imagination. The fringes of these areas are not dangerous, but are decidedly unpleasant. Their very bad lower subplanes are dark, shadowy areas, populated or more aptly populated with all kinds of demons, monsters, and nightmarish figures. The lowest of these dark areas could aptly be called the hellish dimensional areas, right? So if you find yourself in or near a negative area, the common sense solution is to project away to a brighter area as soon as possible. The fastest way to move away is to strongly imagine somewhere nicer and use instant projection to shift to that spot of where it's much better for you. So, holding an image of the entrance structure firmly in your mind and instantly projecting will and doing so will instantly project you there, and it will usually return you to this surface where you'll see the two-dimensional plane again. Or you can focus on flying straight up while using uplifting spiritual thoughts, prayers, or songs to elevate consciousness. Or you can fly towards the brightest area or spark of light that can be seen above or ahead. An upward direction will usually take a projector away from those negative areas. So, astral travelers need not pass through negative or lower astral subplanes to travel to more positive or higher astral levels. The negative areas in the astral planes are, in a way, energetically sideways to the normal plane like dimensional structure. So it's quite difficult to project deliberately into a series of bad lower subplane areas or to project into a seriously higher level or plane. Basically, both are on the sides. It's not it's not straight up and down, right? Like when we look at what the seven layers of hell or heaven are, those are manifesting in an up and down motion. A lot of this is abstract and off to the side, right? So knowing that helps too. So energetic differences and natural attraction and repulsion effects generally prohibits this from occurring accidentally. Every projector will have his or own energetic limitations. And this is something I want to talk about that is inherently important to me. This is why I put it in here, right? There is something that we need to discuss, and that is drugs that are used for out of body experiences. Drugs, while capable of causing those out of body experiences, sidestep the required skills and abilities necessary for safe conscious exit projection. This breaks many natural laws concerning projection while artificially overcoming many natural safeguards and barriers. The natural barriers are there to protect the novice from operating in the dimensional areas they are not equipped to be experiencing. Many drug users have laughed at this stance, saying that they usually have positive experiences, but it only takes one bad experience or one hellish experience to ruin your mind and your life, possibly forever. So, using these drugs to achieve an out of body experience is like playing Russian roulette with a live round in the revolver. I never suggest to do that. And I'm going to bring it back to me for emphasis on this one. I say this all the time, right? Those people who use ayahuasca and DMT to facilitate specific places in their mind that they want to go to, I challenge you to do it without those drugs or those inhibitors. When you do it that way, without those substances facilitating that maneuver, you'll be able to access it more freely. And you'll also be able to maneuver within it and navigate it more freely. Therefore, you will ascend faster, right? You will be able to discern faster. While you may be thrusted into those places when you take those drugs, you have no idea how you got there. You have no idea how to get out of there. And you have no idea where you are, nor do you have control over where you are. I can't stress enough how bad that is, right? If you encounter, and this is the warnings that we have, if you encounter enough negative on the astral plane, inconsistency all the time, it will disturb your consciousness and waking mind. It will disturb and corrupt your waking mind. I can't stress that enough. That's why when you do these things, you do them in proper practice because there are consequences for actions. We know that living in a 3D physical reality, right? So we have to understand that doing it naturally, you are a lot safer from that corruption 90% of the time than doing it with ayahuasca or DMT, where you're 50% susceptible to that corruption. Got to do it the right way. It's all right here, right? Or it's all right here is probably the better way to say it. It's all right there. You have to be able to maneuver yourself through these areas. You have to be able to do it for yourself. And when you have that access, it'll be like nothing you've ever had. Not even the DMT or ayahuasca can facilitate the connections that you can create via the astral plane when done naturally, because they've been matured. They've come to fruition, right? It's like the old saying goes, anything worth having takes hard work and practice, right? Always. Always. So let's keep going. So I'm pretty far behind on the stuff here, but we're going to get to the astral realms and kingdoms as we go. So astral travelers normally only project into areas in which they are naturally in tune with. We each appear to have a natural energetic value set by our level of consciousness, a value affected by many things, including karma, past lives, current lifestyles, and past actions, as well as by natural and developed states of energetic being and potential. So during a direct astral projection with no specific astral destination, astral travelers automatically project to the astral plane they are most energetically in tune with at a particular time. This plane will always bear an energetic relationship with their most naturally active primary energy or primary energy centers. Long term energetic and spiritual development thus considerably affects which astral planes a projector can naturally obtain. So, next, we're going to talk about astral realms and kingdoms, right? So, the astral planes can be likened to a vast ocean of reflected thought and emotion and memory that has been slowly filling since the dawn of time. Internal energetic filtration mechanisms of repulsion and attraction cause this ocean to stratify into layers. Many of these layers develop a cohesive integrity that holds them distinctly separate from any other dimensional area. These areas, traditionally called astral realms and kingdoms, are generated by pools of structured, like minded energies, thoughts, memories, ideas, beliefs, and fantasies that have collected over time. An astral realm is best thought of as a specific environment or world. An astral kingdom is an island or city or town inside of that realm, a place that has a single theme and consistent structure. Astral kingdoms are usually civilized areas containing groups of like minded astral beings. Astral realms vary greatly in size and scope, some appearing to be small as a country village, while others seem infinite in size and scope. Each realm has a distinct and enduring flavor and atmosphere, and its own unique environment. Many contain native astral inhabitants with varying levels of intelligence and society. Some appear to be fairly modern structured, while others may seem ancient. Astral travelers will normally experience more than one realm or kingdom each time they project into the astral planes. And as the astral level to which the traveler projects is set by their energetic values at the start of the projection, this will normally be the what something that they're going to find to their liking, and thus will normally find themselves in pleasant areas each time where they will always feel reasonably comfortable, albeit oftentimes a little bit perplexed because of the differences between all of them, right? So let's see how much time we have left. We've got about 5 minutes left, and we're going to open up for questions and last comments really quickly. But this is going to be the real life astral regions, is the next area. The astral realms do have connections with ETs. Yes. That's why it is a multi-dimensional place. This is how a lot of people who have telepathic contact with extraterrestrials, majority of the time, it's routed through the astral realm because they can't see them, but they can hear them. And that's the thing is the astral realm doesn't have to be visual all the time. There's things that can go through it, right? So let us keep going. So some parts of the lower astral areas contain approximations of real life that are often mistaken for reality or for real time zones. These can be thought of as extensions of a real time zone, containing raw, energetic reflections of consciousness, both objective and subjective. This consciousness that resides there have not yet undergone any noticeable dimensional filtering and ordering. These contain a fluid and changeable mixture of landscapes and structures. While these often seem to bear similarities with the physical dimension, closer examination reveals nothing more than a fluid concoction of subjective astral reflections, right? So the lower astral areas seem to be quite heavily affected by dreaming minds in that local area. They may be a kind of no man's land or crossover between real time and the astral planes and the dream dimensions. So just wandering across what happens to be your hometown in the lower astral dimension can take you through many different cities and countries and often into alien places that do not exist in the real world at all. So the lower astral areas are they're a fairly dismal place. Although heavily traveled by projectors, they lack order and are usually badly lit and seem shoddy, like they seem shoddily put together, and a confusing mishmash of cities, landscapes, peoples, and times, all of which appear to be in a constant state of flux. So experiences here can be super confusing because everything's changing so rapidly. While these areas are often heavily populated, many of them found appear to be like many of the people that are found in these places appear to be half asleep and wandering astral projectors. They're usually not aware of where they are or of what they're doing, although on the surface, many seem actively engaged in performing some task or something else. And if awakened by another projector, they usually remember who they are but are amazed at what they're doing. This area is best considered a lower astral subplane, but is not truly negative, although parts of it can contain negative aspects, and anything and everything can be found there. So, this is where we're actually going to stop this evening. So, what we're going to do in the last episode is we're going to show techniques because we're going to talk about Dreamtime in the next episode, right? And what Dreamtime is. Also, a little bit more of the astral realm. We're going to finish that off, right? And then on the third episode, we're going to talk about techniques. We're also going to be talking about ways to see specific things while in the astral plane, thoughts and motivations to get you to the places that you want to be. You are in control of the astral plane, it is not in control of you. So you have to remember that. And again, just to recap, the negative is not there for you to just stumble upon, nor do you have to go through the negative to get to the positive. You have to actively seek the negative to get there or to interact with it. So we've done some mapping of the astral realm so far. And I want to ask you in the comments, please tell me how you think I did because a lot of this, when I was like writing it and looking into it, made sense. But as I'm saying it, I'm not sure that I made 100% sense. To me, it did. And I hope it did to you. But please in the chat, let me know if this resonated with you, if this is something that you are finding helpful as well, right? Because to to basically use this information to bridge a lot more other topics, we can do that. But I want to make sure I'm going about it in the right way, that it's resonating with the people who are listening, because this is your show, guys. Like, you guys tell me what you want to see, and I try and make that happen. Because without you, there is no me, right? And without me, there is no you. And together, we create this super tidal wave of love that can't be diminished. It can't be taken apart. It can't be compounded in any way. And we do this for each other, right? We do this for each other. And I want to make sure that I'm doing everything in my power to facilitate what y'all want to see out there, right? We are going to be doing group meditations, I promise you. I have one set up at the end of these episodes. There was going to be a meditation when we talk about the different techniques to use. We're going to try and essentially get into the astral realm together, right? While we're on camera. It's going to seem really crazy from my point of view, because it's not going to be me who's going to be going in. It's going to be you guys. And I want you all to experience it and then come back and tell me what you saw while you were there, because this is all work in progress, right? So we've covered quite a bit tonight, but mapping this out has been such a fantastic thing for me, because my brain, when I try and get into the zero state, right? My brain ramps up to like 1,000 miles an hour and then just shuts off. Boom. Like, I overstimulate until it's like there's no more stimulation, right? And it's difficult for me to get past that point. But once I do, and it usually happens every time, it just takes a minute, I tend to start to travel to that astral realm. So, what we meant by real life astral regions is they mimic what you see in the physical world, but they're not real, right? They can become mismatch and like a hodgepodge of different sites you've seen throughout the day. And there's entities or other reflections of people local to that area within that plane, right? Or within that little pocket. And what happens is they're usually stumbling, mumbling, or doing a task, not cognizant of where they are. And you can interact with them and you can wake them up, and then they'll talk to you like well, what the hell was I doing? But I believe that a lot of those people that reside within that place are some of the people who are affected by the NPCs. And they have a lot of exterior stimuli programming them to not fully interact with their surroundings of the astral plane. So that's kind of like where they reside. And when you go into the astral plane and you interact with those entities, you tend to wake them up on in the astral plane, but also in their physical bodies, in the sense that they start to question more. It's like how we help them ascend, right? By interacting with them, waking them up from that mundane task that their subconscious is putting their auric fucking projection through, right? It's crazy. It's crazy. But so again, please, everybody, share this out, like the stream. Also, please leave a comment when this is finished. It is the one way that we get more and more people to see these types of little like sessions that we do. And we really want that to happen, because our duty is to them, right? We are the awakened ones. So we need to facilitate the awakening of everybody else. It's not over yet, right? It's not over. We have a lot of work to do. It's our inherent duty to do it. So please leave a comment after this stream so we can show the world what we're working on, because it's truly fascinating, and it's beyond anything that the esoteric theories could ever perceive, that would come out of just 3 to 5 density human beings. So with that being said, my name is Rob Yox. This is Full Spectrum Universe. I love you all. Thank you all for stopping by tonight. Hopefully we do this either tomorrow or the next day, which is definitely between the next 2 days. We're gonna have another episode. We may also have another episode tomorrow and the next day if I can get it done. And I look forward to seeing y'all then. And don't forget, there's a lot of other content on the channel. Go into some of our backlog. We've got a lot of guests. We've got a lot of seminars we've done and presentations. So go back, check it out. They're all connected, right? Like New York Telephone, they're all connected. So I love you all. Everybody have a great, great weekend. It's pretty crazy. We came to you on a Saturday night tonight. Usually we don't do that, but thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for all your support and just the energies and prayers. And it's truly means the world to me. So thank you all, and I hope everybody has a great night. See you later.